Welcome back, everyone, to BNC GO Morning Hype. I'm Michelle Fisher. We appreciate you sticking with us for another half hour. We'll get started with our top stories. New this morning, according to Variety, Travis Scott not going to be performing at this weekend's Day in Vegas festival. Plus, the report also saying that Travis Scott plans to provide a full refund for all attendees who purchased tickets to Astroworld. This is after what was supposed to be a weekend of fun quickly turned into a weekend of horror during Houston's Astroworld Festival. At least 8 people are dead and hundreds injured after thousands of people pushed their way to the stage during that event, which was put on by Travis Scott. Here's Britt Conway with the latest on an investigation that's now ongoing.
Astroworld, a 2-day music festival headlined and organized by rapper Travis Scott, with tens of thousands of people packed in to party. Now, a criminal investigation after the crowd surged toward the stage, crushing people up front.
There was just nowhere to go and no air to breathe.
There were pleas to stop the concert.
I was right next to a pretty strong chant of "Stop the show and help us."
Dozens were hurt and at least 8 people were killed. But how did this happen?
That's the question that we're working feverishly to determine. We want to look at every single detail, looking at the site plans, the security plans, talking with the producers of this concert, Live Nation.
One concert goer who says he was knocked down and trampled filed a lawsuit against Travis Scott, entertainment company Live Nation, and concert promoter Scoremore, among others, saying they, quote, made the conscious decision to let the show go on despite the extreme risks of harm to concert goers, pointing to people being trampled in a stampede through the gate earlier in the day, along with incidents at other Travis Scott concerts. He says he's in shock, too.
I'm honestly just devastated.
That was Britt Conway reporting with that story there. And as she mentioned, Travis Scott did take to his Instagram story to respond to this tragedy. So here's a little bit more of what he had to say.
Prayers to the ones that was lost last night. We're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time. You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience. And anytime I can make out, anything that's going on, I stop the show and, help them get the help they need, I could just never imagine the severity of the situation. We've been working closely with everyone to just try to get to the bottom of this, the City of Houston, HPD, Fire Department.
And we'd like to bring in multimedia journalist Payton Wilson now from Houston, Texas. She was at Astroworld Friday night covering the event for the Houston Defender. So Payton, first, we're so happy that you're safe. But can you describe for us what you saw firsthand that night?
Well, when I first arrived to the festival, the first thing that I did was went into the press lounge with some of the other journalists there so that I could charge up my phone, charge up my batteries, and just talk to some other people there who had been there longer than I'd been there. As soon as I left the press lounge and I went into the crowd, I noticed that there was no sanctioned off media section, which immediately kind of raised a bit of concern for me because at most events like that, I had covered a festival the weekend prior. There was a sanctioned off media section so that the media was safe and the media could grab good photos for whatever publication they were covering for. I'm 5'3", about 110 pounds on a good day, so I was forced to kind of move through this huge crowd of fans. And as soon as Don Tolliver came out for his performance, it seemed as if everyone lost their mind. People started jumping. Like I said, I'm 5'3", about 110 pounds. I was thrown around. I knew immediately that I had to get out of there.
So how did you get out? How were you able to successfully kind of remove yourself from what obviously was turning into a chaotic situation?
It was hard. It honestly took me about 10 minutes just to get out, just because there were so many people moving around. We were shoulder to shoulder in there. So I was like elbowing people, pushing my way through because I was about in the middle of the pack and I still could not find my way out somehow. I had to push through people, like push them aside. It felt a bit rude, but honestly, when people are trying to turn up to this performance and such, there was no other option for me.
So we know there's about 50,000 plus people at Astroworld. We saw those videos of people trampling each other and trying to get in from the start. Based off that assessment, would you say that it was kind of chaotic from the beginning, and especially when you compare it to the festival that you covered the previous weekend?
Oh, 100%. There was way too many people there for what he was trying to pull off. There was no way that was going to be safe for anyone involved. When you're involved with that many people, you can't really move on your own. It's whatever way the crowd moves, you move. It's really a dangerous situation all around.
So you would say the number of people, and then also we know there's been talk about just how many security guards there were there. The mayor saying, I think that there were more security personnel there actually than were at the World Series. But even with that in mind, there was still this situation. Did you notice that there were security guards there, or not enough?
So the thing about the security is they were kind of spread out through the NRG. So where the crowd was, yes, there was security, but there was nowhere near enough security. The security was spread out on the sides of the railing and kind of towards the near of the stage. But when the crowd is that big, they couldn't really see anything. Most of the security was back near like the drinks, near the carnival rides and stuff. But when everybody's up near the stage trying to get close to the stage, there needed to be more security up there.
For sure. Well, Payton, thank you so much for your insight. I can just imagine the panic, and just fear being there. We appreciate your time and your insight as a journalist. Again, she's a writer for Essence, Revolt, and the Houston Defender. She was there at Astroworld covering the event for the Defender. We appreciate your time, Payton. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, now we want to turn and switch gears and talk about the legalities of a tragedy like this. So joining us now on the show, Houston attorney Carl Moore. Carl, we just heard a firsthand account from someone that was at the festival. When it comes to legal rights, what are they if someone is injured at an event like this?
Well, I was actually at the festival as well. The legal rights of someone at this festival will depend on whether or not they were injured or some sort of distress caused as a result of the negligence of the promoters, the concert organizers, or the performers.
Okay. Well, you mentioned negligence. We know that lawsuits have already been filed alleging negligence towards Travis Scott, Live Nation. What happens next in terms of these lawsuits? Where do things go from here?
So what'll happen next is the discovery process will take place. And in the discovery process, each side will gather more information, investigate what occurred, and then determine if there's some sort of settlement that should be reached or whether or not these cases should proceed to trial.
Okay. And we already know, we just reported a few minutes ago that Travis Scott planning to offer a refund to people that were there. I mean, that maybe helps a little bit, but lives were lost. So there's really no price tag you can put on something like that. How do you think that this will impact live events, especially festivals moving forward?
Interesting you asked that, because that's one of the first things I thought about, is that I don't believe there'll be another Astroworld to begin with. And I do think that there'll be a lot of different security measures taking place at future festivals, because none of these other organizers will want to deal with the liability that Live Nation is potentially going to have to deal with as a result of these injuries and deaths. I think the days of having hundreds of thousands of people at a festival are probably over with.
Wow. So who do you think should be accountable? Is it, Live Nation? Is it Travis Scott? Who's at fault here?
It could be a combination of all. I think the city may have some culpability, the county. As I stated, I was there. There was security, but it seemed to me that the security was spread out and closer to the gates, watching whether or not people had bands, more so than in the crowd, protecting people and making sure people were safe. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think Live Nation, Score More, the promoters, ultimately they're the ones who organize the event, so they're going to have some responsibility. And that's where I think it would start. Is potentially the city of Houston, Harris County, and Live Nation and Score More.
All right. Well, I'm sure we will see some changes moving forward with festivals now after this incident. Houston Attorney Carl Moore, thank you so much for your time this morning and your insight. We appreciate it.